Hey everybody, it's Jason Calacanis and welcome to Startup Basics. This is a very simple series that we're doing as part of This Week in Startups. And the idea came from a lunch I had with my friends at Wilson Sonsini, a great law firm here in Silicon Valley and in a number of other cities. And we just said, there are so many basic questions that founders and entrepreneurs need to have answered. And there's no real place to look for those. I mean, you can find scattered blog posts here and there, but what if we studied each of these questions, looked at everybody's different answers, and I just talked about it in general based on my 20 years of experience. And so thanks to our friends at WSGR for supporting us in doing this, because I know a lot of entrepreneurs are getting a lot out of it, and we've done a number of them. And today I want to talk about just getting press. Everybody wants to get press. Press makes you feel good. Press can drive customers. It can drive investment. And people generally get obsessed with press because as entrepreneurs, we're looking for feedback about how we're doing. Let me tell you, starting off, that the feedback from the press is amongst the least important feedback you will get. However, entrepreneurs rank it very high. For some reason, entrepreneurs would be thrilled to get a story in Recode, Pando, TechCrunch, LaunchTicker more than getting 100 more users of their product, or 10 more paying customers, or an amazing team member, an employee who could make the product 5% better. So you have to take a deep breath and think, why do I want press? What is the point here? I am of the school that if I am doing press, I have a goal. Said another way, I have something to sell. So if you are building stuff and you have something to sell and you have a goal, the press can be a great tool for that. And I've seen many people do amazing things with the press to build awareness of their product. And awareness is a fancy word for people knowing who you are and using your product, because people consider awareness as a step to a goal. So first and foremost, why are we trying to get press? Let's define those goals. Well, number one, you may be trying to raise money from other VCs and angel investors. So then if that's the audience we're going after and that's the goal, we have to think about what type of story we're going to push and who are we trying to reach specifically and where do they live and what do they read. So that's one goal. One goal might be you want to get employees. You may want to get team members. You need a Java developer. You need a Ruby developer. You're just having a hard time getting team members. Okay, that's a different type of goal. You need a different type of publication. That might be Hacker News. That might be participating in PyCon or a Ruby on Rails conference, right? There's a different goal there. It might be just doing a blog post about some technical feature that or technical challenge that draws in a very small number of people, including that group. So define what the goal is. I have so many people who I invest in their company and say, hey, I want to get a story. I say, okay, where? Why? Why do you need a story? What are we trying to accomplish here? So if you're trying to get downloads for Android, which I was doing just this week for Inside.com, releasing an Android version, I asked my people, what are the Android blogs? I have no idea what the Android blogs are. Let's figure out who the Android bloggers are. Let's start curating a relationship with them. So that's the second point I'm going to talk about is once you define your goal, the audience becomes obvious, and now you have to develop and curate a relationship with those writers. In order to curate a relationship with writers, and notice I'm saying writers, not publications. You can't have a relationship with a publication. It's an inanimate object. It's just this concept. There's a concept, the LaunchTicker, TechCrunch, Wall Street Journal. You really want to find the journalist specifically who's on your beat. And if you have a journalist in mind, you want to know more about that journalist than they know about you. You want to know everything about that journalist. You want to be prepared. I can tell you, when I go into meetings, I have read the last 10 stories that a journalist has done, minimum. I have looked at their last 2 or 3 weeks of tweets, their Facebook posts, Instagram. I follow them everywhere. In fact, some of them are like, oh, I saw you followed me 2 days ago or yesterday or today. I'm like, yeah, I know. I was just reading some of your work, and I realized I didn't follow you on Twitter, and now I follow you. Boom. So I am really thinking about that relationship. And there are high-level curation things you can do, like post a reply on a blog and then contact them 2 months later about your press release. Favorite something on Twitter or like something on Facebook, retweet them, write a blog post that mentions them and calls them out by name. Hey, Kara Swisher wrote something really interesting, and I was thinking about what Peter Kafka wrote, and of course, Henry Blodgett said something similar. Now, bing, 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 you've got 3 different journalists that you've ricocheted off in one blog post where you're almost hat-tipping them, giving them a little, hey, I know that you wrote about this before me. Now, in order to do this kind of high-level curation of deep relationships with writers, it has to be authentic and based upon your knowledge and your shared passion for a vertical. So if you're in the quadcopter business and you're building software to help quadcopters go on missions and do interesting stuff, getting Peter Kafka from Recode, formerly All Things D, to cover you is stupid because his beat is media. He covers Netflix, he covers YouTube, he covers Maker. He doesn't cover quadcopters. You need the quadcopter journalist. So don't waste your time. Now, if you're going to do this curation, they need to have a landing page, a presence that they can refer to and remember. So call yourself Quadcopter Casey or Quadcopter Jason or Quad Jason or QC Susan, whatever it is, as your Twitter handle. Make a logo for yourself and your company. Make a blog. Make an Instagram. And start building a little bit of a social media presence that obsesses about the topic, the mission of your company. So for Launch and the Launch Festival and This Week in Startups, our mission statement is to support founders and inspire innovation. So we have people on the program. We tweet to them. We retweet them. We put clips on Instagram. And we are involved in a constant dialogue with the 8 or 9 people who work at the company here about entrepreneurship and innovation. So we might favorite and retweet and discuss innovation outside of our blogs and outside of our ticker, or we'll do them inside of the show, right? We're building this huge presence. So if somebody says, who's Jason Calacanis and what is the Launch Festival? When they Google that or they YouTube it or they tweet it, they're going to be like, oh my God, now we know who they are. They have a beautiful logo. They do these events. There's something for them to connect with that's a tight, well-designed, well-conceived presence. Now, I'm saying a brand. It's a presence. It's a personality. It's a person, right? Or a group voice. It can be, and that's a sort of more interesting dynamic. Now, when you're launching that product, let's say it's just a product launch, you're coming out with your new 1.0 or 2.0. What I do is I like to do a press tour. When I do a press tour, it's very simple. My communications person says, dear Wall Street Journal journalist name, Jason Calacanis will be in town. He has the new version of Inside 2.0, which has a couple of neat features. He was wondering if you had 15 or 20 minutes to spare where he could show you what he's building and why. Now, listen, I am kind of famous later in my career. I'm going to get a meeting a little bit easier than you. But even if you're young in your career, if they think what you're doing is interesting and they see your online presence when they click on it and you've previously commented on them and you've retweeted them, they're like, oh yeah, I know that person, that Jason Calacanis doing that little project. Maybe I would like to meet them for 15 minutes. And you notice how I crafted that email? Very simple. If you're interested, he's got a new version. There's something to see. And then when you meet with them, it's very simple. Just you, the founder, and the journalist. Don't bring your PR people. Don't bring a bunch of people. Just you and them, cup of coffee. Let me show you what I'm building, tell you why, and then say, I wonder if you have any feedback for me. That's what I like to do. What do you think? I put it on them. What do you think about what we're building? What do you think the bigger issues are? And then I get into this hour or 2-hour long discussion with a journalist about, Inside.com and Circa and Flipboard and the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, and we just get into this huge rabbit hole about where news is going and how Inside fits into that picture. That's what you want. Engagement, deep engagement. The longer a journalist is in a discussion with you about the bigger issues, the issues bigger than your product, the greater the chance they're going to see you as a leader and comment on you. Now, you have to bring it. Your product has to be tight. It has to be right. It has to be good. It can't suck. But if we're having this discussion that you're meeting with a journalist and trying to cultivate a relationship and get some press clips under your belt because you have a specific goal, I'm assuming your product does not suck right now. If your product does suck, as I always say, go home, work on your skills, and make something better. Do not bring garbage to a meeting with an important press person. They will not be appreciative. Now, you do not, when you contact a journalist, send a generic pitch. And you do not send to people who don't care. You do not use these Vocus or whatever hocus pocus services where they let you spam a bunch of journalists. I'm kind of a quasi-journalist, right? I get PR pitches to be on the show and to write about stuff. We hate those services like Vocus or whatever that sell our email addresses, and it's very hard for us to unsubscribe from them. We hate getting generic pitches. When I get a generic pitch, you know what I do? Shift ! In Gmail. I put it in my spam folder because I'm like, this person doesn't even have the respect to put my first name in the sentence. And if they're doing a mail merge, I know it. If you're emailing Kara Swisher, you should be starting, Kara, I really enjoyed your story on X, and I thought your point on Y was great. You may have seen I wrote this blog post recently in response to what you were doing. And anyway, I am making a new product. I attached a screenshot. I was wondering if you or another member of the Recode team would give me 15 minutes of your time anywhere, any place, to just show you what I'm building. I think it's kind of important, and I think it's kind of noteworthy. Boom, done. Personal. If you don't read 10 stories of that journalist, you have no right meeting with them. Do not ask for a meeting if you haven't read 10 things I've written or watched a couple of podcasts and know who I am and know what I like to write about. That is your job as the founder. Not to just spray and pray all of these different journalists. We find it annoying and disrespectful. I don't know how to say it even more clearly. Now, you should also have a video demo of your product if you can. If you don't have the money to do it, that's fine too. Or maybe animated GIFs. That's what I like to do. I'm not into the video thing. I find the videos a little bit cheesy myself. Like, as a journalist, I don't like playing them on the show, or like I wouldn't link to them necessarily. But a lot of journalists do, so I'll leave it to them. But I like animated GIFs as screenshots. So here's the behavior inside, and you can see me swiping up and down and how it works. And you can give those assets on your own blog, in an email, a screenshot. Boy, that's what I love. But different journals are different. Some of them like those video demos. I personally like animated GIFs and screenshots. So just to summarize here, you're going to need to have a great social media presence. You're going to want to define your goals to pick your proper audience. And just generally raising awareness is a lame goal. Try to figure out what you're actually trying to accomplish. Like, do you want to get more people to download your app? Do you want to raise money? And if you say all of those things, great. Do a different PR push each month for 10 months on the 10 different goals. But don't try to do them all in one thing, because then you're just mashed potatoes and boring and bland. Finally, attending events is a great thing to do. We'll do a whole nother segment on attending events. But launching at different events and being present, there's a whole bag of tricks that we'll do in a follow-up episode of how to launch your product at an event and how to be present at an event and how to run a trade show booth, et cetera, to get maximum value out of it. Listen, I'm really thankful to my friends at WSGR. They're a great partner for many years of Launch Festival and This Week in Startups, so thanks for putting this together with us. And thanks to my team for helping with all the research on this. Be real, be authentic, be knowledgeable, and have a great product. Build these relationships slowly. Do not think about them in a transactional relationship. Think about them in an intellectual friendship kind of way. How do you slowly build a deep relationship with people who you vibe with and who are on your beat? Take your time. Less is more. And be respectful and do your homework. All right, we'll see you next time on Startup Basics.